To start my presentation is, yes, we are working more and more with nature saving people. And but actually I'm a gardener. I'm from a gardener family, from a landscape architect family. And my story is a little bit different, but it's all connected with the trees. So a little bit introduction, and maybe somebody has a question, but I have last 20 years spent on trees, and last 10 years it's about saving trees. And we are working usually in cities or with developers, with architects, with landscape architects. But it's all started with my grandpapa, and my grandpapa was a forester. He's the greatest man in my life, and I spent a lot of time with him. He's this old man, and he was a very special person. And here is my cousins, me and my friends, long time ago, and he was talking about trees and how should we behave with the trees. And somehow the life turned out that I started climbing the trees. I was doing this all my life, and when I was about to get my wife, I was telling to my wife's parents that I'm gonna climb trees and make money by pruning trees, and will make money with this for a living for all my family. So they were laughing a little bit about this, but now I have 5 children, and they all eat what I make by pruning trees and saving trees last 10 years. So it started 2003, 5, 9, the team been growing, and already in 2015, we had a private school which is dedicated to the trees, and the team now is about 60 persons, and this is not about getting very big, but this is another story. This is about, if in the beginning we were pruning down trees or felling some trees, and I felt not good about this. We were going to the sites, there was some all dead, damaged or dangerous trees, and we felt it, and there was no tree when we left the site. And we found out that this is not an issue we want to do. This is what arborists quite a lot do. But we wanted to plant trees, we wanted to take care, and we wanted to save trees. And this is why we started to have expert team. Already 12 years, we have an expert team which is doing something else. We are working in a circle all around. We have now experts, landscape architects, gardeners, and tree replanters, and all those teams which we need to do it complex, this work. Otherwise we cannot get the goal. And here it goes. Where the problem is. And in my life, problem is connected actually with society. All the society around the world is talking about that there is too much pollution, too many cars, and all of us are moving to the cities, and this is happening even in countries like Latvia, like Norway, where people love nature, but still more and more percentage of people move to one spot and live there. And those spots cannot resist infrastructure, architecture, and nature cannot resist, and so there is no nature in end. Even people realize that they need it, but there is no space for it. And it doesn't matter, is it big cities or small cities, nature is not protected. And the nature is something what we are, this is something to do with civilization and with how we teach our children, and how we do our economics, and we want to do all of it, and sometimes there is not enough people who are protecting nature. And this is exactly what is happening also in Latvia. And developers, architects, and construction site is not the place where trees can survive. And as an arborist, we saw that all the time when we went to the project like this one or some other one, there was already damaged trees, or they were dying. And this was very depressive, because you cannot change. People are asking you, can you save our trees? And we are coming as a professionals, but we cannot. There are no roots left, or there are some chemicals on them, or they are damaged totally on above the ground, even a trunk and branches. And this was a very depressive for me. And there are not many gardeners or arborists who are actually talking with investors, who can go to the city government or to big architects and say them, let's look at your plans and maybe we can change something. But more and more we see that there is no other options, because still what is happening, architects and investors are cleaning out all the site and then are building, because this is rational. This is how you can save money. If you are saving, let's say in this site, this one little oak tree, it means you cannot use 200 square meters during the construction site. And this is a very expensive, somebody thinks. And in last 15, maybe even 20 years, I've been spending a lot of time to calculate how expensive is this one little oak tree. Is it 50 euros what costs to plant a very small tree, or is it 500 euros to plant a quite nice tree, or is it 5,000 euros to plant a tree like this size? And calculating the cost of one tree is helping me now to talk with investors, with architects. And even now when we are building as a central rail station in Latvia for Rail Baltic, year by year, our team been growing 3 persons up to 5 persons bigger, because we needed persons who can go and take part in projects. And now we are in a biggest, we have 15 landscape architects. We are not arborists, we are arborist landscape architects who are talking with architects, who are talking with municipalities about is it worth saving tree, and how to save it with limited costs. And this now me gives already about 10-year experience when to save, how to save, and when it's not worth saving the trees. And now in the last project in Rail Baltic, we are felling tree like this. We were planning to save it because it's too expensive. We know the price of a tree is about 20,000 euros, but to save it, it costs 40,000 euros. It makes no sense. And when I'm talking clearly about money with investors, they understand me very well. If saving is 10,000 and the tree is 20,000, we save the tree. And why we do it more, and even in public spaces, we are saving trees for thousands of euros, for 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 euros spending, saving one tree. And this is the result of last 10 years talking about how much does it cost. Like in this particular space in the center of Riga, there was about 200 trees, lime trees, and there was built bicycle road, and almost half of those trees are dying or dead already now, some years later. And this is about how much do we lose. And in a corner you can see a very small trees which our team have planted instead. But people more and more recognize that this is not the same. One big tree costs not 500 euros, it costs maybe 20 or even 50,000 euros. And this is what public is starting to ask. We are not happy with the small trees. We need big ones because size really matters in a city. One of the things, of course, is a dangerous tree. So people are usually afraid from a dangerous trees, from a trees like this. Beautiful oak was felled because somebody, even an expert, was saying that there was a playground underneath children, that this beautiful oak tree should be felled in the center of Jelgava, because it was dangerous. Our team would never fell it, and we would prune it or make it stable or even move the pedestrian road, what would cost maybe 3 or 5, maybe maximum 10,000 euros. But this tree is worth more. It was 200 approximately years old oak, and only one in this park. And in this case also, there are so many people against it and not happy with it, that we feel that society is ready for decisions which wouldn't be made 10, 20, 30 years ago. This is about saving the tree and talking about costs. What does it cost to save it? And the more and more society understands that tree is not 50 cents, when we are planting the forest, or 1 euro or 10 euros or 50 euros, when we are planting in our garden. But the big trees cost like a new car, like 2 new cars or 5 new cars, or very expensive cars. And this is all about size. And we know those pictures from Europe, and we have some pictures in all countries, but more and more we are losing, not in Latvia only, Europe, Lithuania, and we know the story. A heat like last summer, year before, killed many trees, 1,000 trees in Latvia, in the cities. And this is what we are planting back, and how can we calculate, is it enough? And the people who are calculating it with i3 or with something else, finding out that this is not enough, and we have to plant very big trees. We don't have money for it. And then the question, what do? We are planting small trees. We need bigger quickly. And this is what we have found. And this is not a very interesting, but this is the reality, what we have found out. Our team is needed for trees, maybe 1 or 2 times. For a big trees in a city, 1 or 2 or 3 times in the lifetime. And I was comparing, people better understand when we compare it with humans or with ourselves. And this was average man, Latvian, and this is average tree in Latvia. An average man in Latvia lives about 75 years. It depends woman or man, but woman longer. And why does it, but it could make 100. Doctors are saying we can make 100 if we live a healthy life. But that happens usually something, we are getting sick, or we get in some accident, I don't know, on skateboard or on motorbike or something else. And the same is with the trees. The trees could make 100. Average tree in a city could make 100 years. Is it acer or lime tree, oak, ash? Average tree, pine. But why they do it only 75 or even less is construction sites. And this is about getting some pipes, cables, renovating the roads, or building some kindergarten, schools, or something else. And those are a critical moments. Some of the trees die in a first contact with humans, or first renovation of the road they are killing, or like this pedestrian road I was showing in Brīvības Street in Riga, which killed many trees, beautiful lime trees. And this was enough with one bicycle road, which kills them. Of course, all the trees will not die, and some of them will reduce the size, reduce the quality of it, and later come up what the lime tree is doing quite well. And then will be a next renovation of the road, or light will be installed, or something else. And this can kill the trees. This is an average scenario for the trees. And I recognize that our team have to do this. They have to be near those trees when the conflict is with the nature needs, or what the trees, birds, bugs, nature needs, and the human needs. And there was nobody doing this in our country, talking. How can we do it professionally? What the tree needs? The tree needs roots. Okay, so it means we cannot install light, or cannot build pedestrian road or bicycle road. No, we can build it still, but we have to save the roots. And there are solutions. And there have to be somebody who is talking about, looking for it, teaching. And this is not very interesting. This is not climbing trees. This is not changing a lot by action, but this is a lot of sitting, talking, drawing, and spending time in offices. Because of course we can always buy and plant a beautiful trees, and a big ones. And there are nurseries, especially in Europe, providing you a beautiful tree for 20,000 euros. We've been planting a couple of trees like this in Latvia, and this is a big success. I think that people can spend 20,000 euros on one tree, because this was not possible 10, 20 years ago. But still, this is very little if you're comparing with beautiful big trees. And this is about saving. So saving, it's so boring for arborists, because arborists love action. They have big chippers, big trucks, big chainsaws. And we are 20 boys in a team who like action. But I'm happy that our team is felling only 5% of our work is felling trees. And this is usually connected with saving trees. So that now, and I will try to show this video when it happened. It's about 13, 14 years ago. And this changed. Sorry, you have to watch some commercial. Sorry for this. But there is a small video which changed. So this is telling that many arborists have videos like this. When we are felling trees safely, the tree is dead, and we have to fell it. And this is one of the moments we had to fell a beautiful oak tree in the center of Riga, because a petrol station had killed it. It resisted about 20 years to this digging asphalt and all of this. It was dying slowly, a beautiful oak tree, 120 years old. And I felt not happy about it. And what I wanted is, we were trying to show it in this video. I let it go. Okay, Thomas is doing this. Very good, Thomas. Can you hear me? Because this was a moment when we felt like what we should be doing is we should go to the place where there is no trees, and we should put a beautiful tree, a big one. And this was already 12, 13, 14 years ago that we felt like this was a marketing video about things that we actually couldn't do, but we wanted to do. And the solution, how to have big trees where there are no big trees, how to do it cheap or not too expensive. This is too complicated still, and we are already so big team, but we have not enough power to talk with enough people to change it quickly. And this is about if we started with tree cutting or tree transplantation or tree protection. And there are two ways how we do it. If we talk about tree protection, we have made so many tree protection plans. We start with evaluation of trees. And this is almost a standard now for architects, for developers in Latvia. 10 years ago, it wasn't like this, that you have to make inventory of trees. You have to find in a city which trees you have to save, which trees are beautiful, which trees can be saved after all of your communication installation and all of your realization of your project. And this is landscape architecture and architects. And there you can spend, you have to be almost an architect to talk with architect. Do we need light in this place? Or do we need pedestrian road? Or do we need so big road or parkings? And you have to dive so deep in all the investors' problems and architecture problems. And this is something what I think we will do to protect the trees, because now the protection, what we do is, of course, collecting all the data about saving, find out where the roots are. This was not typical. I learned it in Germany that to save tree, you have to know where the roots are. And the air spades and the vacuum excavators are you cleaning, you finding the roots, and then you can install the cables, the pipes, build the houses, saving the roots. And this is, of course, protection on all the sites. All this, we have quite many big projects where trees are saved. Usually they would be cut down And all the investors program is realized, like this in the middle of Riga, big oak tree, and a building all around of it. And we are doing quite a lot to save it. And I'm expecting that this tree will feel quite good. Even not many people believe it. And building the fences, this is one of the boring things that arborists can do, but we are doing this so much, and this is the most effective thing to save the trees in construction site, and fixed fences to the ground. Experience building, and there was an architect from Lithuania, a good one, and building art museum in the middle of a park was one of the biggest experiences saving trees. And more cases like this are one scenario how we are saving trees in the cities. But still, this is not end. Most spectacular why our team is ready to do all this fencing is because sometimes it happens that there is no way we can save it because the building is actually located on the tree. And quite many times this is done before inventory, or inventory is done not properly, and there is some trees that is state protected or dendrologically very valuable. You cannot fell it, but the project is made already for 1 million euros or for more. And what you can do is you can move the trees. And this is coming more and more. And I'm not saying that this is good, but sometimes this is the thing you can do. A beautiful oak tree, the price of it is about, let's say, 5,000 euros. And if you can save it for 500 euros, this makes sense for every investor. They can save some money. Of course, you have to water it and keep watching it. This is another maybe 500 euros, but still this is 500% investment, saving 5,000 euros by spending 1,000 euros. And talking with money is helping me a lot. So this is from the last year, a big Robinia pseudoacacia, a beautiful one. And what we are doing now on our construction sites, this was a site which was cleaned out from all the trees. There was trees that we started to look for nearby investors who could like to buy them. We couldn't find replanting on a site, so we were selling them around to other investors and other projects, and we were surprised that there were people actually buying trees, big trees like this. We could dig on one site and move to another one. And for me, 21st century, and I think this is not only for me, this is for 3 people involved in arboriculture, and this is about, it started in Georgia for us, and this was an experiment, a very big experiment. Maybe you have heard, this is not black or white, it's something in between, because this was an experiment about moving big trees, and there are moved 200 trees. We were involved in this. This is in Latvia. We are moving now very big trees in Latvia. This is about 150, maybe 200 tons, about 100 years old. And in this case, this was a very interesting story because there was permission to fell it, but it was so beautiful. It's Aesculus hippocastaneum, and we were talking with investor just because I like to talk about trees, and I was telling, if I would be you, I would think about saving it. But he said, yeah, but this is 1 million euros in a project already invested, and this is in the middle of a building. And I said, but we can move it for a couple of, one new car costs moving this tree. And this was word by word, and we moved the tree, and I think this office building will be happy by having this tree in front of a new office building, because there are no other trees nearby, and they will have 100 years old tree. And this is Georgia. This changed our attitude to the moving of trees, because they have made this Guinness World Record, moving 1,000 tons trees. So those trees about 40-45 meters, and Latvia Koki team been there for 2 years, assisting, pruning, helping. And I think this is the 21st century. This is mind changing about nature, about trees, and it's not black or white. We don't know where it will end, but this is solution in some cases. This is about language that investors understand. And if Thomas can put the video now, this was about 4 weeks, about 20 persons involved. Yeah, he's preparing a little bit more, about 6 weeks. And afterwards, we've been taking care all summer of it because it was extremely hot. This was last year's project, but each year we have about 4 or 5 projects where we move big trees in Latvia. And this is very difficult. This takes so much energy. Like in this project, we were a very big team, 20 persons on site, but still there were times when we were about 30 hours without sleep doing this. Okay.
We're all looking for a place to belong. A place to rest our heart, to grow and branch out. A place that we can call home. Some of us are lucky enough to find it, while others continue to seek it. I was lucky. I was with my family. I had grown up and settled in. Till one day, it was all taken away from me, along with my family. Someone simply wanted to set up a new place for themselves. And sometimes one person's desire for a new place takes home away from someone else. The more people's needs grow, the less room we have to grow ourselves. But I was lucky. They found another place for me. Even though moving can be particularly difficult for me, I know that I will be able to turn this place into home. Because sometimes it's not the places that give us the feeling, but it's the feeling we give to those places that is important. This is why I advise you not to give up and wilt away. Everything will fall into place, even if it's somewhere different.
This is not clear nature saving, absolutely. This is something what humans have found out. This moving big trees was something what was always something extreme. And I don't know, is this what we will continue to do? But now we know how to do it. We know what it takes. And for me, it would be interesting to find out what those trees that we have moved actually feel like, or what they would tell us. And one of the things what makes me is that trees about humans are changing also their mind if they see how much energy we are spending on saving one of them. And I hope that there is energetically something changing also, that they feel like we need really the trees. Okay, thank you for attention. I hope you heard it. I hope you have seen it. I know that this is very discutable, moving trees, and but this is an extreme part of saving trees, and this is what people understand and see as a real saving. But in our work, this is only 5-10% from putting fences. Maybe 50% is talking with architects, making plans, moving, digging soil, looking for roots, and all of those are much more, to show, to explain. Okay.
Can you hear me, Edgars?
Now I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, so we have a question. How you evaluate value of the trees in euros? Is some methods to evaluate it?
There is many methods to do it, and each country, not all the countries, but like Germany have one method they use in the courts, and England another, Switzerland another. But in Latvia we use one very simple one, and it's working in all countries. This is a replacement. How much would it cost to replace the tree? And if this tree is, you can put it on a track, then it's very easy. Up till 11-meter height and about 10 tons or 3-meter diameter root ball, you can always buy a tree. And that's the price of it. It's like buying a bicycle or buying a car. What it costs in a nursery, this is the price. And this already helps a lot. To buy a new beautiful tree, 5 meters, it's 2,000, 3,000 euros. Yeah, and about the big ones, this is much more difficult, and there is another presentations about this, but this is one of them, is calculating. Of course, you can count the leaves. Again, this is how the tree works, but this is not used. But canopy cover and the trunk diameter is one of the most important things. And by calculating it, you can, one of them is simple method. You take an average size tree, which is accepted to plant in, let's say, Vilnius. It could be maybe 18-20 centimeters circumference. And you take how many these trees you can put on a big diameter of trees that you have to evaluate. Maybe there is 50 of them. And one tree like this is 500 euros and it's 25,000 euros. Costs this big tree because it is working like 25 or 50 small trees. And yeah, and a little bit of course always is where the tree is located, a cost of a land, a condition of a tree, is it perfect or is it damaged? You can reduce the price. And yeah, I hope I answered a little bit of the question. The good news, there are methods you can actually find the price of a tree.
Thank you for your answer. And another question is, what is the possibility that if the professionals move a tree, so what is the percentage that it will take growing in that new place?
This is a very, very important question, because we are working in many countries. In France, I have seen where trees are moved with 0% that they will survive, because they were just taken with an excavator and without roots moved to another place, and they call it replanting. And when we are working, we have moved, let's say 50 trees, and we are trying to reach 90%. So now we haven't, maybe one pine tree, where we couldn't be assistants afterwards. And we are trying to make contracts that we are assistants at least 2-3 years afterwards, that we have to give a warranty that this tree is surviving. And then arborists are starting to look really deeply what the tree needs to survive. And our team as well. It's all the roots that you can take with the tree. It's getting stabilization. It's getting all the time measuring the moisture of a soil. Is it enough? And many other things you have to dive into, not just physically to move the tree. Like in Georgia, in Georgia, they moved big trees and they died. And then to find out, like Hercule Poirot, why did they die? What did we missed? And we are happy is that all our big trees actually are survived. And even hard ones like red oak is or oaks at all, or Fagus sylvatica, purpurea, or those are the difficult ones to move. This is not willow or a lime tree. Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And one more question from me. Do you prune these trees, or do you move them with all their branches?
This is another good question. I have seen YouTube videos where are pruning 100% of leaves off, but this is an easy job because actually you don't have the same tree anymore left. And if arborists are chopping off or pruning off the canopy of a tree, this is called topping of a tree, and the value of a tree is dropping for 99%. This is no more tree. So the biggest challenge is with no pruning. If you can move like this big Aesculus hippocastanum, it was moved without pruning any structural branch. You couldn't see it. We took out some dead wood and maybe 100, 200 leaves, alive, living leaves. But to move tree with as it is, this is the biggest challenge. So again, this is about how much money you have, what's the challenge, how important the place is. If you reduce 50% of a canopy, it's easy to keep the tree alive. Especially if this is Tilia europea, for instance. If you even prune all of it, it will not die. It will spruce back again, but this will be not the same tree. So the answer is a professional takes as many of a tree as possible. And if you are not sure about it, then you start to pruning. Then you start to reduce more and more to get in balance living roots and living branches.
Thank you for your answer and for your presentation.
Okay, thank you.